Friday, the 30th of April 2016, the last day in April. Good evening, you welcome to News Hour live on GBC24 and GTV. My name is Yoko Pakutre.
And I am Michelle Kaka.
Now, former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman-Rawlings has been elected flag bearer of the National Democratic Party, NDP.
This was at the party's National Congress held in Accra. National executive of the party were also elected.
The National Democratic Party, NDP, was formed in 2012. The party is a breakaway from the ruling NDC. The Electoral Commission disqualified the NDP from contesting the 2012 elections when some anomalies were detected in the party's nomination forms. 4 years on, the NDP has once again held a National Congress to elect their flag bearer for the 2016 presidential elections. They also elected their national executives to steer the affairs of the party. The National Congress attracted party members and delegates from all the 10 regions of the country. Candidates vying for national executive positions stood unopposed, so there was no voting in that regard. The Electoral Commission declared them duly elected as per the tenets of the law. Dr. Asari Bediakon is the elected chairman of the party. Mr. Anthony Kusi, Vice Chair, Alhaji Mohammed Frempong, Secretary General, Mrs. Betty Ekufu-Amoaben, Deputy Secretary General, Peace Ayi, National Women's Leader, Hajia Salamatu, Deputy Women's Leader, Mamiya Eduse, Communications Director, Mr. Osu Bempa, Deputy Communications Director, Dr. David Sunu, Youth Leader, Charles Opoku, Deputy Youth Leader. Margaret Appiah was also elected Treasurer of the NDP. There were solidarity messages from the CPP and the NPP. They commended the National Democratic Party for their efforts in ensuring that the political landscape remains diverse and vibrant. A political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon, Dr. Richard Amwakoba, said Ghanaians should push for change in the governance of the country.
Look around. Look at your cell phones. Look at the microphone I'm using. You name it. What do we make? Others make it for us because they change with time. We actually hold on too tight to tradition and culture. And in a lot of ways, it has become an impediment in our progress. We have to change. Tradition and culture were not made to enslave us. It is supposed to make our lives better. If it is not working, you have to change it.
In her victory speech, the flag bearer of the NDP, Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman-Rawlings, said the progress of any country is achieved with progressive leadership.
Visible progress and improvement in our lives is expected of every nation. That is what is expected. It is our patriotic duty as citizens of Ghana not to make room for government complacency at all. And we should not make room for government incompetence. We should not. Our country's greatest unexploited resource is not our gold, it's not our cocoa, indeed, it's not even our oil fields. Our greatest resource is the people of Ghana. Our women, our men, the elderly. These people are the building blocks that Ghana stands on. Our youth, our children. These are the future of the nation. Hope in Ghana's future is dependent upon the opportunities that we create today that harnesses the God-given talents of every citizen.
The theme for the Congress was United for Change, Probity and Accountability.
Meanwhile, former President Jerry John Rawlings says no Ghanaian should be given the platform to preach tribalism in the country's politics. He said before Ghana chose the path of multi-party democracy, every Ghanaian belonged to the PNDC. and the nation was really united. He said 24 years on, Ghana should be seeing more improvement instead of deterioration. Former President Rawlings was addressing members of the National Democratic Party at its National Congress in Accra today.
Today, we're all split up in various parties. But I have had the privilege and the fortune of leading and presiding over this country for many, many years. And I've always referred to that period before we went constitutional, that democratic revolutionary period, as one of the most creative, energetic, dynamic times in our history. And it was at a time when we did not exist in our various splinter parties. It was at the time when all of you, your fathers, your uncles, your mothers, used to be part and parcel of that creative energy in the PNDC. Today, we find ourselves in multi-party. It's leading to expressions that create animosity. We've seen violence. I owe it a duty and a responsibility. And I will not forget that before we came into the NDC, NPP, CPP, all of them, all of us used to be part and parcel of that creative time. And I have a responsibility to help to bring the best out of each and every one of us for the sake and the security and stability of this country.
The General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Mr. Solomon Kote, has urged Ghanaian workers to fully participate in this year's May Day celebration, although the Labour Front will have witnessed a number of failed negotiations by government. Mr. Kote made the call at a meeting organized by the members of the Tema branch of the ICU ahead of the May Day celebration.
Between government and Labour aimed at reaching an agreement on conditions of service for workers have been a major issue for Labour unions in the country. According to Labour, government interventions to solving issues of labour have not met the expectation of workers. At a meeting held by the Tema branch of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, members discussed ways to get the grievances of workers addressed amicably. The General Secretary of the union, Mr. Solomon Kote, said the ICU will continue to fulfill its mandate to ensure that workers are provided with better conditions. He encouraged all workers to participate in the May Day celebration.
The indicators are clear. If our base rate is such that you cannot borrow, then it tells you clearly you cannot do business, because when you enter into any business, you should be able to recover your capital, okay, and then find your profit margins and be able to move. But if as of now you borrow at 32%, it is restrictive. It won't hold you. It will not allow you to do any business. That is why the system look very dry, very hazy, and it is not fluid. Maybe except those who have got in excesses. But for us as a union, it is not helping the employers that even we negotiate with. The employers always come with their heads bow, begging and saying that, look, we cannot bear our electricity, we cannot bear our water, things are tough for us. So for the economy, we can't say it is buoyant, we can't say it is fluid.
The Tema Regional Officer of the ICU, Mr. Eliaza Nyaunu, disclosed that within the first quarter of the year, over 500 workers have been laid off by their employers within the Tema industrial area, with some companies out of business. He called on government to put adequate measures in place to boost the economy.
We are back shortly after the break. Don't go away.
Thanks for staying on. It's time for business. Most entrepreneurs, manufacturers, industries and small and medium enterprises (SMEs) are unable to expand due to high cost of credit. To this end, the Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Kospio Gabra, has appealed to financial institutions in the country to reduce the interest rates to enable entrepreneurs to access loans to expand their business and employ more people. The minister was speaking at the 2016 Entrepreneurs Awards in Accra.
The Entrepreneurs Foundation of Ghana is a non-profit and private sector-led organization that aims to harness the power of entrepreneurship and innovation to grow the Ghanaian economy and improve living standards. The foundation stems from the growing need for Ghanaian entrepreneurs to network, create a conducive business environment, and take sustainable measures to propel Ghanaian businesses to greater heights. It is also to provide a platform for consumers to patronize made-in-Ghana products. In all, 26 awards were given to entrepreneurs who excelled in their field of operations. The Health Service Entrepreneur of the Year 2015 went to Dr. Digol Moses Dobache, Chief Executive of Medimoses. The Banking and Finance Entrepreneur of the Year Award 2015 went to Dr. Ni Kote Jani, Chief Executive of Ideal Finance. Chief Executive of Tabia Herbal Company received the Herbs and Medicinal Entrepreneur of the Year 2015 award. The Chief Executive Officer of the Year 2015 award was given to Mr. Eric Sedi Kutoche of Fair Sky Group, and the Entrepreneur of the Year 2015 award was received by Mr. Chris Cheneboa, Chairman of World Trade Limited. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Kospio Gabra, said government has created a conducive environment for businesses to operate, but the cost of credit has crippled most businesses in the country.
For entrepreneurs to flourish in any country, a number of things need to happen. And sometimes I refer to this as the profit, P-R-O-F-I-T. That's what entrepreneurs usually are all about. But for entrepreneurs to succeed, the profit means that there must be policies. And these policies are not just in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, where we are developing and have developed a number of policies for an industrial policy, a national export program and strategy, intellectual property policy, a consumer protection policy, a quality standards policy, packaging policy, and so forth. Quite a number of policies, including our concerns about the cost of credit.
Some of the award winners spoke to GBC24.
This is the first time we are receiving an award in Ghana, and they're making us the Health Service Entrepreneur of the Year. We are very excited, and I must say that this is going to propel us to do more things that we do.
We are proud of what we have achieved over this short period of 5 years. We have grown to such an extent that we have become an international brand, well deserved to be at this difficult time to be able to create 3 other groups to the existing group within a matter of a year, employing almost about 800 workers within a matter of 2 years to ensure this group. I'm very happy. I give the glory to the Almighty God.
Thank all God Almighty and all the staffs and then our customers.
The Ghana Entrepreneurs Award Gala 2016 is an initiative of the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Ghana and is endorsed by Ministry of Trade and Industry.
The Central Bank of Nigeria's consolidated and separate financial statements for the year ended 2015 show that its net income for the year was 108.530 billion naira, while its group net income was 123.074 billion naira.
The results stated that in line with the provision of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, 20% of the net income of the bank will be credited to its retained earnings, while the balance being 80% will be paid to the federal government. It stated that the preparation of the consolidated and separate financial statements was in conformity with the International Financial Reporting Standard, which required the use of certain critical accounting estimates and judgments. This, according to the central bank, also required management to exercise its judgment in the process of applying IFRS accounting policies. The results revealed that the group operating income increased by 287.65 billion naira or 64.6% to 732.51 billion naira from 444.86 billion naira in 2014. Also, the group operating expenses rose by 185.72 billion naira or 42.8% to 618.86 billion naira from 433.14 billion naira. The increase in operating income was as a result of a 93% increase in net interest income, which rose to 132.2 billion naira in the year under review from 38.45 billion naira in 2014.
The University of Cape Coast has initiated a Research Awards Grant (RAG) to support research work to help shape national policies. The initiative, which is the brainchild of the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Dominic Dabre Kupoli, is aimed at bridging the gap between academia, industry and policymakers through the conduct of cutting-edge research in all areas of national development. The director of RAG, Professor Samuel Enim, underscored the relevance of the project, saying it would positively influence public discourse to address some challenges confronting the world. This came up during an awards program for researchers at Cape Coast.
The awards program was organized to honor researchers who have done some work on social, economic and health issues confronting the nation and suggest remedies in solving the problems. About 8 researchers received cash awards ranging from 20,000 to 5,000 Ghana cedis. This is to motivate other people to make their research work known so it could be used to address some socio-economic challenges confronting the world. Speaking at the maiden awards at the University of Cape Coast, the chairman of the Research Award Grants, Professor George Odru, noted that the initiative is laudable and open to all researchers in the University of Cape Coast. He said, though no candidate won the prestigious Outstanding Research Award, he was hopeful this will propel other people to be part of next year's edition. The Vice-Chancellor of UCC, Professor Dominic Dabre Kupoli, entreated faculty members to encourage their people to make their research works known to the public. He said the university would continue to support research initiatives. He appealed to corporate organizations to support such initiatives since they serve as cardinal principles in the development agenda of the nation. Some of the award winners made presentations on their research works, which include incidents of a viral disease that affects okra, a study of insulin resistance in rat malaria, conflict management, and approach to household access to improve sanitation in Ghana. One of the award winners, Dr. Simon Mariwa, who did a research on poverty and approach to household access to improve sanitation in Ghana, shared his thoughts about the subject area.
And improved sanitation should be something that is able to separate human excreta from human contact, so that there is no way your mode of defecation is going to affect health in any way.
Well, that's it for business. Coming up, it's My Journey segment.
Oh, very good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us here for that segment of the news where we bring you stories from across the globe, stories that usually you do not get to hear on any network. And my name is Abdul Hayi Momen. Now, Turkey, with 2.7 million registered Syrian refugees, is host to the largest number of refugees in the world. About 280,000 of them live in camps. I have just returned from Nizip, a town located a few kilometers from the Syrian town of Aleppo, where many Syrians affected by the war are being housed by the Turkish government.
Nothing prepares you for the Nizip refugee camp in southeastern Turkey. Once you leave Gaziantep, Turkey's 6th most populous city, The famous Silk Road takes you to the troubled town of Aleppo in Syria, where blood and tears have been shed in recent years. On the sides are mountains, rocks, and deserts until Nizib town swallows you up 40 kilometers into the Syrian border. I travel slightly beyond Nizib, and onto the left, the road meanders up the hills, and when it descends, an unseemly sight beckons. An expansive 145,000 square meters container camp ensconced beneath. At the foot of the camp is the historic Euphrates River, its pristine waters spying on the sorrows of 4,818 humans devastated and displaced by war. Likened to the Pied Piper of Hamelin, the Syrian children in the Nizib camp emerge one by one.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah.
They are a curious lot. The brave ones like Jibril here, approximately 6 years, catch up with me. At the main administration block, built of prefabricated materials, a few parents, some of them severely disabled, sit on the decks awaiting the camp officials for some business. The Nizib camp is run by the Emergency and Disaster Management Agency of Turkey. The manager of the camp, Ibrahim Elmis, ushers me into his office and speaks through an interpreter. He says, millions of Syrians have fled their country due to the conflict. He added that as a humanitarian gesture, Turkey was at the time of my visit hosting more than 2.7 million Syrian refugees in 26 protection centers.
Sağlık hizmetleri için bir tane hastanemiz bulunuyor. There is a hospital here. 24 saat doktorumuz mevcut. 24-hour doctor stay in the hospital. Buradan sevk gerektiğinde, uzmanlık gerektiğinde bizim devlet hastanesine, Gaziantep Devlet Hastanesi'ne biz kendimizi götürüp getiriyoruz araçlarla. If they need special assistance, they take the people to the city center hospital. 24 saat hizmet veren ambulansımız bulunuyor. They have ambulances for 24 hours. Eczanemiz var arkadaşlar, temin edelim için. Pharmacy.
Milal is my new friend, flashed out from his childhood in Aleppo. Like some of the other Syrian refugee children, he likes to draw. There are artworks in an exhibition hall of drawings depicting a man running away from his own home, of a boy who sits by the clock waiting for the time to return to his homeland, of a mother sitting by her dead child. These are just a few of the pictures constantly on the minds of many Syrian children like Milal. There is an ICT center where the children go to play and learn, a place that allows them to forget their sorrows. The computers are loaded with all manner of children games designed to enhance their mental capacities. Slightly ahead is a school.
They built the tents.
I cross over to yet another unit, a laundry unit. The laundry assistant will not speak to me on camera. She says the refugees bring their dirty clothes and they launder them with these machines for free. The next facility after the laundry is a mini-mart, a supermarket. Here, refugees shop for their basics, using a loaded shopper's card issued for free by the Turkish government upon registration. A move into the container camps. They are partitioned into a bedroom, a sitting room, kitchen, bathroom, and an extra room. They are all air-conditioned, connected to electricity and piped water. Ahmed Naksan's container is fully carpeted and furnished. He says his wish is to find the whereabouts of his son, whom he has not seen in more than 3 years due to the conflict. So now he doesn't know if his son is alive or dead. Abdullah here says he almost committed suicide after he looked on helplessly as 3 of his children drowned while attempting to flee the Syrian conflict. This 20-year-old lady, Dara, says her wish is to live a normal life back in Syria, a place she can call home. Young Syrian refugees play soccer at the refugee camp. Young Afra says his dream is to go back to his house with his family and to find his toys that he left behind in Syria and to play football for the Syrian national team one day.
Football, soccer player. Football player. Soccer player. Yes. He likes too much. He likes football. Yeah, he likes too much.
I am on my way back from Nezip, the Syrian refugee camp at the border with Turkey. And having heard the stories of the refugees in that camp, one thing is clear, that there is no place like home. I've heard stories of parents separated from their children, of children orphaned at very early age, and of families devastated, whole communities distracted.
In a deal agreed, the 28-member EU is offering Turkey a package of incentives. The deal is aimed at discouraging the smuggling of people through treacherous sea routes by cutting off the main migration trail from the Middle East to Europe. Ultimately, the solution to the Syrian displacement crisis is a political one, demanding the settlement of the violent conflict in the country. Unfortunately, the international community is far from arriving at such settlement. For Turkey, managing the presence of millions of refugees has not been an easy task, even for a country with significant administrative and economic capacity. The greatest and possibly the toughest problem has to do with the long run and a comprehensive government policy towards integration. Burden sharing is also critical in terms of legitimizing the expenses of the government in the eyes of the Turkish public by showing that caring for the refugees is an international responsibility. Hi, Moment, GBC24, Nezip.
And that was my journey to Nezip, a town very close to the Syrian capital of Aleppo. We'll see you again some other time.
In international news, rescuers in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, are searching for dozens of people feared trapped after the collapse of a 7-story building in heavy rain. TV coverage from the scene showed a crowd gathering at the Huruma residential estate as rescuers dug for survivors. At least 7 people are known to have died. The Red Cross criticized chaotic scenes as rescuers arrived. Police say that at least 121 people had been rescued. It is unclear how many people are trapped beneath 7 floors of concrete. The rainfall, in addition, has caused landslides, washed away houses, and flooded roads. Police say that 14 people died in the Nairobi rains, including those in the collapsed building. Officials said another 4 died when a wall toppled over.
Kenya will set fire to more than 100 tons of ivory later in a move aimed at showing its commitment to saving Africa's population of elephants. President Uhuru Kenyatta will ignite the first of 11 huge pyres in Nairobi National Park, which are expected to burn for several days. The ivory represents nearly the entire stock confiscated by Kenya, amounting to the task of about 6,700 elephants, but some disagree with the approach, saying it can encourage poaching. The burning comes after African leaders urged an end to illegal trade in ivory. Mr. Kenyatta, who hosted the summit, said on Friday that the ivory trade meant death for elephants and death for tourism. Experts have warned Africa's elephant could be extinct within decades, but there is opposition to the ivory burn in Kenya, the biggest in history.
And in Greece, the government is moving thousands of refugees from camps in central Athens to new settlements on the city's outskirts to prepare for the arrival of tourists. Greece expects 23 million visitors this year, who are expected to bring in about $20 billion in revenue. For months, the streets of the Greek capital were home to refugees from Syria and other countries living rough as they prepared for the next step of their journeys to northern and western Europe. Makeshift refugee camps in Athens, once at the center of the refugee influx, are now disappearing as residents are bussed out to new settlements far from the eyes of tourists on whom Greece's faltering economy relies. The new camps are air-conditioned and provide adequate sanitation facilities, a big improvement on the old ones which lacked the most basic necessities.
Runoff elections have given moderates and reformists a working majority in the Iranian parliament for the first time in more than a decade. Supporters of President Hassan Rouhani won 42% of the total seats, short of an outright majority, but comfortable enough to pass his legislative plans. Independents took nearly 30%, and many of them are said to be reform-minded. Hardliners won just under a third of the seat. The runoff was held on Friday in constituencies where no candidate had won the minimum 25% of the vote at the first round in February. The results are regarded by many as an endorsement of the nuclear agreement that the government of the president signed with the U.S. and other world powers to curtail Iran's nuclear program in return for the lifting of international standards.
With sizzling temperatures claiming more than 300 lives this month in India, officials have banned daytime cooking in some parts of the drought-stricken country in a bid to prevent accidental fires that have killed nearly 80 more people. The eastern state of Bihar this week took the unprecedented step of forbidding any cooking between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. after accidental fires exacerbated by dry, hot and windy weather swept through shanty towns and thatched roof houses in villages and killed 79 people. Among those who died were 10 children and 5 adults killed in a fire sparked during a Hindu prayer ceremony in Bihar last week. Hoping to prevent more fires, officials have also banned the burning of spent crops and religious fire rituals. Anyone defying the ban risks up to 2 years in jail. Many politicians decried the move, according to the paper.
The Syrian government has carried out more than a dozen fresh airstrikes in Aleppo as the death toll from more than a week of escalating violence countries to soar, according to local sources. The strikes hit residential neighborhoods across the opposition-controlled eastern part of the country on Saturday morning. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights estimates that at least 244 civilians, including 43 children and 27 women, were killed since violence between government forces and rebel groups fled on April 22. On Friday night, government forces carried out airstrikes in the eastern part of the city, while rebels fired into residential areas into the western government-controlled side. The Syrian Observatory said that on Thursday and Friday alone, at least 44 civilians died in the tit-for-tat attacks. Death rains down on Syria as ceasefire wobbles, while the Syrian government on Friday announced temporary truce in Damascus and the coastal city. The support base for President Bashar al-Assad, Aleppo has been excluded from any cessation of hostilities.
Hundreds of left-wing demonstrators have tried to block people entering a far-right party conference in the German city of Stuttgart. The Alternative Deutschland AfD party is expected to rebrand itself as openly anti-Islamic during the meeting. Police who surrounded several hundreds of protesters fired pepper spray at crowds. Close to 1,000 officers were deployed. The AfD wants to ban the burqa and outlaw minarets in Germany. Despite the protests, the conference began as planned on Saturday morning. Nearly 2,000 members of the AfD are registered to attend the conference. The party achieved gains in all three states taking part in regional elections last month, claiming almost a quarter of the votes in the relatively poor eastern states of Saxony and Hart. It had campaigned against what it called Chancellor Angela Merkel's catastrophic decision to accept 1 million migrants and refugees in 2015.
Of protesters broke through barricades and threw eggs at police outside a California hotel where Republican Party frontrunner Donald Trump was due to address the state's Republicans Convention. The demonstration in the city of Bellingham temporarily delayed a speech by the billionaire businessman. Because of the protest, Mr. Trump had to enter the hotel via a rear entrance. Mr. Trump's rallies have been dogged by violence. On Thursday, a police car had its windows smashed by Mr. Trump's post inside a hall of the Orange County Fairgrounds in Costa Mesa. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Don't go away. Welcome back. The remains of the former president of the Actors Guild, Ni Odoye-Mensah, has been brought home. The Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, members of the Actors Guild, family and friends of the late actor were at the airport to receive the body.
Ni Odoye-Mensah died after undergoing a kidney transplant in China. His death followed that of the Actors Guild president, Eddie Kofi, who died last year. Doctors declared both kidneys of Mr. Odoye-Mensah incapable of performing their key functions effectively to keep him alive. Ni Odoye-Mensah announced in January 2015 he was suffering from a chronic kidney failure. He traveled to China for surgery. After his death, $68,000 was required by the hospital before the body would be released and flown to Ghana for burial. An appeal was made to the government through the creative arts industry. The president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, promised to pay the money for the release of the body. The Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Mrs. Elizabeth Ofosue-Jare, spoke to us.
Oh, it is with a heavy heart that I received this body. Because when he came to bid us farewell to go to China, we all thought that he would be well and that he could come back to continue the good work he was doing in the industry. Come to think of the fact that we did what was humanly possible for us to save his life. That's why the president intervened when he was in Ghana and was leaving. The bill that he gave us, we gave him money. But, you know, I'm so reluctant to be talking too much about the help we gave him. But because people don't know, I've been pushed enough to say that when he was leaving, we gave him money. Whilst he was in China, the president organized money to pay all his bills.
Some seasoned actors also spoke to the team.
We are grateful to the government and then the Ministry of Tourism for supporting the family and the Artists Guild for bringing the body back home.
We've really been shattered and discombobulated, but you know, anyone who believes in a good book knows that there's a time to be born and a time to die.
The guild has a problem in terms of most of the. Solomon Sampa is the welfare officer, he's gone. Eddie Kofi, the president, is gone. And then Neo Doye, past president, is also gone. So there are holes in the executive of the Actors Guild, and plans are underway to have an election so that the people will be put in place to start to get things down.
Bais Osei-Kuffour, president of the Musicians Union of Ghana, Musica, had this to say.
I've worked with him on so many different fronts. He knew there was a great and ardent lover of the arts and what he did, and he would always fight for the development of the arts industry. You know, and so when he fell ill, it was a big blow to the entire arts sector.
The Cantonment Division of the Ghana Police Service has for the first time held the police annual get-together, the West Africa Security Service Association WASA in Accra. This is the first time the Cantonment Division of the Police Service is marking WASA. The event coincides with the first anniversary of the division since it was separated from the Accra Regional Command.
Every year, the police holds the West Africa Security Service Association WASA get-together to unwind and plan for the future. The Superintendent of Police for the Cantonment Division of the Police Service, Mrs. Gladys Mpre, said having become a separate division from the Accra Regional Command makes it easier for them to bring policing to the doorsteps of the people.
I am happy, very, very happy to have our own division, because formerly we used to go to the Patient Division just to have a meeting. But now we are happy to have our own here. And now we have also bring the policing to the doorsteps of the community.
The Accra Regional Police Commander, COP George Akufu Dampare, said the police service is now undertaking what it calls the Community Engagement Policing Initiative, CEPI, CEPI. The initiative is meant to build trust and confidence between community members and other stakeholders for effective crime control.
With this community engagement policing initiative, all what we've been doing in the past, we will continue to do it. But what we are going to add to it is to have an environment where the regional commander, the divisional commander, the district commanders go to the communities and meet them as groups, as individuals, interact with them, listen to their concerns, share security tips with them, then strategize with them and see how their concerns are going to be addressed.
4 officers in the division who have served in extraordinary ways in the past were honored.
Now to the sports side of the news. The 2 traditional giants in Ghana football, Accra Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko, lock horns at the Accra Sports Stadium on Monday. In the Week 10 fixture of the ongoing Ghana Premier League, the chairman of Hearts of Oak Strategy Committee, Mr. Vincent Sowadote, says Hearts will laugh at the end of the game. Meanwhile, the general manager of Kotoko, Mr. Samuel Opokunti, says no one should write them off ahead of their match day 10 fixture in the ongoing Ghana Premier League. Kotoko play as guests to Hearts of Oak at the Accra Sports Stadium on Monday. The general manager of Kotoko, Mr. Samuel Opokunti, says fans should comport themselves and not to forget the May 9th incident. The advice comes as the clock ticks towards the encounter on Monday.
Accra has to fall against Kotoko since 1980
till the time that I went to professional. Even I came back and pray against Accra House of Folk. What I believe in is how you yourself you prepare before the game is very, very, very important. The self-discipline, the training very, very hard to get your fitness at a certain level is very, very important. Then the mental toughness, no matter what, it's a big game and it can make you or make you. So I believe that you need to have self-confidence. No one can motivate you better than yourself. So if you are fit, you can also still motivate yourself. So the fitness is number one or the paramount of this game.
And on the flip side, the chairman of Hearts of Oak Strategy Committee, Vincent Sowadote, has also advised fans to guard against tendencies that can lead to a repeat of the May 9th incident.
A lot of people have said Hearts of Oak and Kodogo doesn't follow the form guide. All I can tell our supporters that Monday is going to, whatever happens, Monday will be a very memorable day in the history of Ghana football. Hearts of Oak, we are going to be competitive. We're going to give a very good account of ourselves, and we believe that, as I said, whatever happens at the end of the day, Hearts of Oak will emerge a greater brand and a stronger club after Monday.
It for sports. Coming up is the weather report. It's a wrap on the news for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back at 10:30 with This Week.
Good evening.
Good evening.